in particular, I met him when I was a young captain going through Quantico, and he was the director of the Education Center. And my good friend was his aide. That's how I first met him. Following that, I went through AWS and then was assigned back to the 2nd Marine Division. And he, of course, was the division commander. And having known him and having been selected for major while I was in school, I walked into the headquarters looking to follow my instruction, which I should have from the Colonel J.J. Carroll, who said, when you come in, just check in the division, come down, and we're going to assign you to a Battalion 3. So I walked out of the building, and there was General Gray, of course, saying, "Hello, sir, how you doing? Great to see you again." And he says, "You're my aide." I said, "But sir, I've got to go down to the battalion. I've been an infantry officer, been out for a while." He says, "Okay. Then when I go to, I will take you with me when I go up to Norfolk, because I have just been selected for FMF land." I said, "Okay, sir, whatever you say." And he said, "Okay, just go in and see the chief and tell him that you're the new aide." I'm still in shock because I had worked very hard to get back into the division, and he was going to be leaving in a couple of months. But it was typical of what we saw from our grade, decisive, jacket. But from that day forth, he became my mentor, and he became my leadership on steroids and friend. Guided my career from the time talking to General Keyes and General J.J. and Colonel Carroll. He vectored me, he released me from it, but he told me he reserved the right to call me up at any time, and he let me go back into the battalion, and that's where I became a battalion commander, later the battalion commander of that battalion, but also the Battalion 3. And it was because of his leadership. Now, if I go back into the greatest impact that he had on me, it's because his true belief in training and his thing of back to the basics, so that we would understand our job and that we could lead by example. And he wanted us to be able to think under pressure. And his thing was, the more sweat you put in training, the less blood you would share in war. And that has stuck with me all of my life in every position, up until the greatest thing he told me when I became the division commander of the 2nd Marine Division, a division that he had commanded. He told me, "Did not tell you." And he also had the nickname Papa Bear. And I said, "Papa Bear, right on, reporting for duty." That's my experience and every rank of the way, he's always been there to provide me advice and support. Even when I was selected to be the chairman at NATO, the military committee, it was always checking in with Papa Bear for the various issues that confronted us. And I've always been, so it's no other place I can be than right here celebrating his 95th birthday, because he's always been there for us.
That's wonderful. You said that you were at Camp Lejeune, and you were the commander there. Tell me about your time here at Camp Lejeune.
All my major commands, I was telling, because of my current job, I'm the Secretary of Military and Veterans Affairs of the state of North Carolina. My affiliation with North Carolina, after 39 years in the Marine Corps, 25 of those years were coming out of Jacksonville from Camp Lejeune. All my commands, from platoon commander to division commander, has been here at Camp Lejeune. So each one of those commands, when I commanded the 22nd MEU, it was because of the way he put the Carolina MAGTF together, because of Al Gray and the alignment of bringing the 3 elements plus the command element of a MEU. So I had a chance to command the 22nd MEU. I commanded 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. That was a battalion that we first put the battalion on skis in Norway. off of that same type of leadership, building blocks, not only training you for leadership, but every form of leadership, from the squad leader to the platoon sergeant, company gunny, battalion commander, battalion 3. All of those was based on the training blocks that Al Gray put in place. So then if you fast forward to division command, what the division did and being the ground combat element of the MAGTF and that shape of preparing to fight is what those things that we learned from back to the basics, knowing what you're doing, training. So all of that is Al Gray's legacy.
That's awesome. What do you think of, because you've spent a significant amount of time in this community, so Jacksonville and Onslow as home of the Marines, what does this place mean?
Well, especially in my current capacity, I have a chance to see what communities, whether it's the community around the Old Bragg, now Camp Liberty, or around Goldsburg at Seymour Johnson, or watching how it should be done around Jacksonville or Havelock around Cherry Point. This community embraced us as Marines from day one, back from the time when the Mumford Point were at Camp Johnson or the main part of Camp Lejeune. Jacksonville has been the place. It truly came about after the Beirut bombing, when we saw how the community embraced us. And it became very clear when you talk to MEF commanders about what happened when you deploy to go to war and what happens to the communities. Well, the communities, what we learned is that the days where you go on to the base, close the gate, are gone. There's an interrelationship with the communities that is not can be replaced anywhere. And Jacksonville sets the tone and sets the steps for how it should be for the community. The relationship that we have with Mayor Sandy Phillips, and the relationship that we have with the county commissioners and the business folks, all as a part of support things. And we saw it again during COVID, when schools and daycare centers were impacted. The community kind of closed in from both medical and support. It's amazing. So I use this as an example all around North Carolina, and when I'm talking to my other secretaries and directors across the United States about the communities, and we share Jacksonville as an example.
Thank you. Last question for you. At the Beirut Memorial Observance, what does Al Gray do?
Al Gray was our rock during that time. No one understood the MAGTF, it was called a MAP then, of where and what we had lost and how the community had been damaged. As on the memorial, they came in peace. But during that time, Al Gray reminded us of, that's just one hit, we get to hit back, and we get to pull together and police up and take care of those 241 that were lost in that battle, and make sure that we live up to our motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful, and that we always take care of each other. And so he was the pinnacle of it. He was the leader of that. And that's why he's so endeared here and is so appreciated and loved, because, Al Gray is synonymous with greatness.